You can see the love in the eyes of the kid that was lost and it turned to a rebel. Mama don't give up on me, I'm a rebel. Mama don't give up on me, I'm a getter. I was just a little bitty boy when you told me, then it came back to hunt me when I turned to a man. I knew I should've listened to you then, right then, right then, right then. I couldn't
About my backstory, I grew up on the rough streets of Long Beach, California. On every corner, it was riddled with bullets and gang influence. I'm the youngest of 4 boys. I followed right behind my brother's footsteps into the gang life at a young age. At 18 years old, I was fighting multiple life sentences. At 19 years old, I actually got sentenced to 30 years in California state prisons. Throughout that time, 20 years old is when I finally opened up my very first book, because education was never a value in my life. But ever since then, I never put a book down. Education gave me the insight to not only change my mindset, to learn the error of my ways and reconnect with that 13-year-old boy who fell in love with storytelling. In 2020, which was during the pandemic, I was in Centinela State Prison, right upstairs from Carlos Vasquez here. And as everybody know, that was the pandemic era. So they had us on our own special quarantine, 24-hour lockdown, day in, day out, day in, day out. And tiny cells when you could reach out both hands and touch both walls. At that time, I was busting out story after story after story because that was like my oxygen. At a time when it seemed like life was trying to suffocate me. Oddly enough, I was also in there with one of my blood brothers, who prior to, I was separated from for 13 years. So, as I was sitting there reading the screenwriter's Bible, a question hit me like a bullet train. And I was like, bro, have you ever seen a movie where dice wasn't just some pastime? Like, it was everything. It was life, it was culture, it was the way people survived, fought, and built legacy, like, and they drew their powers from it with their connection. He said, nah, that's a great question. Then think about it a little bit more, I'm like, damn, I said every city, state, and country has some form of dice game, like, it's world culture. I said, who invented dice? He said, I don't know, that's a great question. So I just started thinking about it deeper and deeper, and my imagination started going wild on just not only how this can affect world culture, but elevate it with the human-centered stories I can live through these characters. So I started diving deep into my research. The support I was getting from the streets at the time, one of them being Sylvian again, I was passing up on buying food and I was buying books. And at that time, dice books was one of them. Screenwriting books was one of them. And I was digging into the history of it, the origin of it, the meaning of it. And I was like, wow, this is deep. And in 8 months, I had what you see, one of the greatest stories never told. Battle for Pedigree, Rich Rover, you know? And I saw it as even deeper than that, how I can build a universe where I myself and other unheard voices can coexist in, become heroes, and control our narrative. But can't have an impact while I was sitting on the shelf. I still had 30 years lingering over me. I was still surrounded by chaos, where that 30-year sentence could turn into a life sentence or a death sentence. Never know what might happen, you know? But I was so deep into my discipline and the change man that I became, by God's grace, a bill passed, Senate Bill 261. The fact that I was 18 years old, it labeled me a youth offender. And that gave me the ability to see the parole board on my 15th year. Like, all right. By God's will, the work I actually did on myself, it showed. And I got granted on my first hearing, on my 15th year. So I'm here talking to you today.
Let's go.
Okay. So, as you can imagine, I'm feeling good. They even accepted my parole plans to parole to LA. You know, it's Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, all my dreams about to come true any minute now.
Perfect fit.
2 days before I paroled, they let me know I'm going to a city I never even heard of until I got paroled, which is Palm Desert. I'm like, where is that at? So they kicked me way out there. 33 years old, don't know nobody, $300 gate money, and in a transitional home with 19 other strangers. Like, hold on, all right. Luckily, growing up in the streets and the path I chose gave me transferable skills on adapting. So I had no problem with it. I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable. Let's do it. So, in a transitional home, I found the nearest college, and there I became a film student, where I built great relationships with Nicholas, wherever you are, who gave me one of my first shots at acting. I built relationships with those film students. I acted in 4 short films, student films. A month later, I built up Last of a Dying Seed, which is primarily a YouTube channel, which dives deep into the nonfiction and fictional storytelling. One of them being Joe De Niro, who came on the channel. You know, so, and then a few months after that, I dropped Prosaism, which touches on self-narrative. So every which way, I'm overwhelming the industry, every way possible. And every time I learn, I take a step in applying. I learn, I take a step in applying. I'm not stopping. So, as I was learning and growing, even as a PA, where I met Sebastian, you know, every time I went back to my room, it's like I was hearing that Jumanji sound from that Rich Roller, like doom, 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 doom. And it's like kept talking to me like, you gotta make me. But I'm like, damn, you gonna take 100 million to make. I'm gonna make you. You gonna be Harry Potter type numbers.
Yeah.
But shortly after that, I was talking to another film student who Nicholas knows, Bella, and she brought up the word concept film. And I'm like, concept film? I did my research, YouTube University, and found out everything else. Concept film trailer, concept short, concept teaser trailer, and the reason studios create them. And I said, oh, bingo, the writing on the wall. We can break this down to a concept film trailer, which you see here, and use that to crowdfund and get to the next phase. So that's what we did, but damn, my pocket's still touching. I'm gonna make that. You know, so it's always one thing after another, but with me, I get motivated. We're gonna figure it out. And then coming from nothing, we are resourceful. So with $1,700 and with the passionate spirit of other film students and other family members, such as Daniel, Keyshawn, and other folks in here who have friends, Azalea, Chris, and who have worked on this film with me, we made it happen. We made a way. And when I couldn't afford somebody in a certain position, all right, I'm gonna learn it, figure it out. So what this is not only a high concept film for those that's in filmmaking and know what that definition is. Beneath the surface, it's the battles that we all go through at some point in our life. Finding identity. Having to have strength in unbearable circumstances. When everybody wants you to be the hero, but when you need a hero, it's just you. That search for meaning. And at the end of the day, you hope that it means something to somebody else. You know, like Fader, I felt a calling that was bigger than me. You know, to really create that on-ramp for myself and those like me. From here on out, to open the door and jam that motherfucker, so we all can come through. So this is bigger than me, you know, and that sounds cliche, but this is real. Like, those who know me know, like, I'm not a mistake, and this is not a coincidence. And this is here, and it's happening. So today, once again, marks the start of a crowdfunding campaign to get to 500K, to make that pilot. I know it's not gonna happen tonight, but everything you contribute gets us that much closer there. And it's only gonna get bigger. This is a snowball effect. You know, so I just appreciate everybody here because, like, I'm witnessing history just by the people that's in these seats, but you all are witnessing history because this is about to be big. And those who believe in a higher power, you know, God or whatever religion, know that we are just meeting who we're supposed to be halfway when we put in the work. So I just appreciate everybody here, and let's continue to, you know, be great.
We can do it for the culture. Maybe we can do it for the culture. Ride through the ghetto with a tour bus. I just wanna show 'em where I came from. I just wanna show 'em how I came up. I just need a little inspiration. I just need a little inspiration. I just need a little inspiration. I just need a little bit. I just need a little inspiration. I just need a little inspiration. I just need a little inspiration. I just need